How's everybody doing today? It's Scott from Surviving Life's Pickles. Today, we don't have a sponsor for this episode, and the reason for that is we are sponsoring this episode ourselves to bring awareness of the Ramirez family. This episode, we sit down with Mike Ramirez, Mayhem Mike, and his wife Jamie, and talk about his tragic motorcycle accident that he was in a few weeks ago. Their family has had a life-changing event that has left Mike paralyzed from the chest down. They have a lot of new needs, a lot of new challenges and pickles that are coming up in their life during this time that they definitely need help with. And so we wanted to take this time to ask you to please really listen to their episode, listen to the message, listen to what amazing people they are, and they talk about some of the needs and things that they have going on in their life with how everything is changing. In the bottom of the podcast description, there will be some contact numbers and information about how you can get in contact with a few people who are helping with the construction needs and other items that they need in their life currently. So if you are able, or if you know a business or have a friend that can help the Ramirez family out during this new pickle in their life that is going to be very challenging as they learn this new family dynamic they have to go through, we would appreciate it. That's why we do what we do here on Surviving Life's Pickles, is to bring information and to help each other in the community however we can. So this episode is dedicated to Mike Ramirez and his family, and we hope that you can help him out in some way. And even if it is just by sharing this episode with somebody else so they can hear his message, that would be a great benefit, and Mike would extremely appreciate that. So thank you for tuning in to this episode. We hope you enjoyed listening to Mike's story, because it is one of the most amazing stories of this man and how he has overcome this new pickle in his life already. Thanks for tuning in. Well, everybody, welcome back to the next episode of Surviving Life's Pickles. I'm Scott Martin, and today, if you are watching the video, we are in a new setting. We are in Mike, the Mayhem Ramirez, workstation, garage, gym, his little hacienda on the side of his house.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah.
we've got a wonderful story to talk about today, but just like we do before every episode, we're going to jump into what we're grateful for today. And I've got Mike and Jamie both here today. And Mike, I'm just going to start with you, and we'll just kind of go around the circle here and, kind of what's on your mind. What are you grateful for today?
I know I don't show it a lot, or especially recently, but I'm very grateful for all the help that I get since the accident. Whether it's my wife helping me or my little sister, my son, but all the therapists, my friends that have come over just to even help move around the garage a little bit. Make things more accessible for me. That's what I'm grateful for. All the help I can get.
Yeah, I like that. And everybody will get into a minute about the accident if you're not familiar with what's happened over the last little bit. So, Jamie, how about you?
I'm grateful my husband's alive. Uh, this accident could have been a lot more severe. And I consider us blessed that my son is not going to grow up without his father, that I'm not going to have to live my life without my best friend. So, as hard as it is, I feel a ton of gratitude for the people that have reached out to help us. And we've received so much support that I don't even know how to put it into words, because I usually am the one that we want to give the support, not be the ones that need it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And
So way to make me cry at the very beginning.
I know we're starting this off really good, but you know what? I can already feel the love in this room, and it's amazing. Even just being here, setting up and stuff, it's been amazing already.
Okay.
And honestly, that's something I'm just super grateful for today, Mike. I'm grateful that you're here. I'm grateful that I get to sit and have this experience with you. We're all going through struggles. We were talking a little bit before, a few things that I'm going through that, struggles, our pickles in our life that we're doing with right now. They're different than yours, but they're all just challenges we go through.
Yeah.
I look at it as I am now grateful as these challenges come up. It sucks going through them,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
it
yeah.
sucks learning. But when you come out the other side, that's when the real growth happens. And that's when
miracles and different things happen. And so
Yeah,
I'm just super grateful to sit here with you today and talk about this and for you willing to share because we've talked. There's some people out there that need to hear this.
for sure. Yeah.
So,
Thank you, buddy.
yeah. Well, everybody, as we were saying, Mike is part of the I Love You Bro group. If you guys have been listening to the podcast for a while, he was on the I Love You Bro hour with us a few months ago. And we had a great conversation just talking about different things and kind of how we met and how the group had brought us together and what it's done for us. But today's special. Today's really to talk about Mike. About 6 weeks ago now, 7 weeks ago.
Yeah, almost 7 now.
7 weeks ago, Mike was in a motorcycle accident, which, he came out that paralyzed for the moment. So,
Yeah.
and his life has changed. But like Jamie said, you came out of it alive. That's the most important thing. Like you're still here.
Yeah, thank
But,
God.
but now life is different. And you have a lot of challenges that you never thought you were going to face. And as we've talked, one thing I'm just amazed is how positive you are even through everything you're going through. And I know you're struggling. You have those days that are difficult. You have those days that are like, man, what the hell's going on? But overall, I see all this positivity coming from you of, I'm not going to let people tell me what I can and can't do anymore. And that by itself has been super inspiring. I love the fact that you continue to say, it's only a matter of time before I get back on the track, and I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
I really don't.
Yeah, for sure.
It might be in a different capacity, but you're going to be on that track one way or another. I know you will.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll be back on the bike for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be doing our thing again.
Yeah, so that's exciting. Well, Mike, Jamie, Mike, whoever kind of wants to talk, let's kind of talk about what happened. The accident, maybe just a few details, whatever you want to share, so people understand kind of what happened. I mean, it was just a normal day of
Yeah.
riding for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was just Saturday morning. We go out to Jordan River OHV State Park and just go ride motocross, go practice our technique, just try to get better at the sport. And I'd been there really early in the morning, got dressed real quick. I was one of like the first few people on the track, which is, I'm usually one of the last people to get there to my friends group, but I was the first this time. Anyway, so track was perfect. I wanted to go out there and, get some sight laps in, got some sight laps in. And then there was this jump that I hadn't even hit before, it was a brand new one. And it was pretty big. It's downhill. And finally got the confidence after, a few sight laps and a couple laps of just riding around to hit the jump. And so I did. I came off the lip, spotted my landing, realized, okay, I'm going to come up a little short. This one's probably going to hurt too, which, I've had before. So I just kind of braced for it. And then when I hit, man, it was just way harder than I had it expected, to hit. And it launched me over the bars to the bottom of the hill. From what I I've been told, the bike I was still entangled with the bike and hit the ground head first. Tumbled a couple times with the bike and then came to a rest. And all I remember is waking up, like face down, not being able to really breathe, like take a good deep breath. And this young kid was next to me. His name's Lakin. And he was like, "Hey man, like, are you okay?" He kept asking me that, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I just told him like, "Hey man, I need to roll over. Like, can you please roll me over? I can't breathe." And so he grabbed my hip and my shoulder and rolled me over slowly, and I could finally breathe. And then my legs were crossed. And at that point, and he had said, "Do you want me to uncross your leg?" And I was like, "No, dude, I can do that. What are you talking about?" And, tried to do it, and nothing happened down there. And so I remember pulling up my jersey, my chest protector, and started poking around my stomach and, my groin and my legs. And I realized like, oh, something's wrong, um, yeah, that's not normal. And so I'd been injured plenty of times before, and to the point where I need to lay there and take a break and say, okay, something's wrong. Let's just wait for help and, let's do our thing. But this time, I couldn't feel anything or have control anything in the lower half of my body. And so that one was definitely a little different than previous injuries. But at that point in time, I had just, said, hey, call the ambulance. And then another guy was standing around, and I said, "Hey, do you have your cell phone with you?" He said no, and so he's like, "I'm gonna go get it." So he ran back to his truck, came back. I called my wife, left her a message, and said, "Hey, I just crashed on the track. I'm alive. I'm good, but I can't feel my legs." And almost immediately, I got a call back, and it was Jamie, kind of asking, what's going on, what's wrong, and do you want to
And
explain that?
how was that, Jamie? You get this message from obviously a number you don't know. How was that for you? What went through your head initially?
Panic and fear. Um, you don't call your wife when you're laying on the track unless it's pretty severe, because usually they're going to pull you off, or you can, somebody's going to help you off the track with a broken leg, whatever. But this was different and it felt different. So I immediately just grabbed my son, woke him up. I said, "We got to go. Dad's hurt. Um, we got to get to the track as fast as we can. Grab your stuff. Let's go." Uh, and I remember in the car, my son was like, "This is my fault." And I was like, "No, no, buddy. Like, why would it be your fault?" He said, "It's my fault because I was supposed to go with Dad today, and I told him to stay home, and he didn't stay home. I told him I just wanted to sleep in." And I remember just feeling heartbroken at that moment because we didn't know what was coming. We didn't know even the severity of his injuries at that point because, you know, you can't feel something from the waist down or chest down or whatever. Does that mean it's permanent? Does that mean I tried to stay calm, but it's pretty hard to stay calm when something like that's happening. But when the paramedics got there, they called me and said, "Just come and meet us at the hospital, because if you get to the track, we need to be out of here by then. We need to get him to the hospital." And so we just went to the hospital first and sat there and waited for the trauma unit to do their thing. And that's an intense process, let me tell you. There are 10 to 12 to 15 nurses and doctors running around him, checking his vitals, and they don't really let you in the room. So you're just standing out there watching this happen. Like, is he alive? Is he like, what's happening? Um, they finally did let me go in, and just tell him I'm there, and I'm there for him. And he looked up at me and he's like, "I'm so sorry." Bro, it's okay. Like, don't be sorry. It's not the time to be sorry. We'll get through this. Right now, we just need to make sure that you're okay and that you're going to be fine. And he goes, "I can't breathe. I can't breathe." And he turned to the doctor and he said, "I can't breathe. Please help me." And the doctor looked at him, threw his hands in the air, rolled his eyes, and says, "I'm done," and walked out of the room. And pardon me, but I said, "What the fuck are you doing?" I said, "You just walked away from your patient who said he cannot breathe. He has just had severe trauma to his body, and you're going to walk out of the room and roll your eyes at him?" He's like, "Well, I didn't leave the patient." I said, "Bullshit, you did. You walked out of the room and left the patient in distress." I
Yeah.
calmly told my husband I loved him. I walked out of the room, and then the doctor started kind of stepping up to me, saying, I'm being professional." I said, "No, you're not a professional. Your behavior is absolutely inappropriate and disgusting." I said, "Do not touch my husband again. Bring me a different doctor." And he said, "Sure, sure, I'll get you another doctor." And I said, "Okay, cool. Where is he?" He goes, "Well, he's not here, so I'm going to have to take care of him for the time being." And I go, "Well, watch yourself. Like, don't, don't get near him with that attitude again. Help him." So from that point, they just took him to another unit and did some more imaging and said, "Look, his T6 in his spine is entirely exploded, and it has smashed his spinal cord. His T7 is fractured. He has fractured ribs. Um, he had torn ligaments in his neck and a bone fragment that pulled away from his vertebrae. So they were really concerned that any further damage to his neck or even movement could cause a paralyzation up in the spinal cord in his neck, which would cause him to be quadriplegic at the time, not just paraplegic. Um, and they said, "We're going to probably have to do surgery." I said, "Okay, cool, let's do this." And they go, "Well, the surgeon looked at it, and it's, I think we'll just wait. I don't think it's urgent." I said, "Why isn't it urgent?" They said, "Well, the damage is done." So my second time getting upset, I was like, no. You have to do surgery now. Because if he has any chance of ever walking again, you have to make sure that that spinal cord is not continually smashed. The sooner you can undo it, the better off we're going to be. So they went back and begged the surgeon again, and he said, all right, let's do it. She's right. Let's do the surgery. So they did. Took him in and did the surgery.
So I've got a question, Mike, and we were talking. So, I mean, I broke my back twice and I've had multiple surgeries. So one of the times I lost over 80% of my spinal fluid.
Oh, wow.
And all of a sudden, all these major issues in my head started going on because as that spinal fluid drains, your brain starts to overheat.
Okay.
So with your spinal cord getting crushed, did you have any type of those symptoms at all? Or, I mean, were you intact where your fluid wasn't leaking? Do you know?
I don't believe they said anything was leaking in there. But I don't honestly remember exactly. Jamie might have a better idea.
Yeah, they told me that it was more smashed like a pancake.
Okay.
Originally, I actually thought it was severed because the way they explained it to me in the beginning, it sounded like it was completely severed and there was zero chance. But after the surgery, they told me, we didn't open up the fibers around the spinal cord to see how damaged it was because we didn't want to do any further damage. So they couldn't even give me a real answer as to how bad the smashing or if there was cutting or anything involved like that. But as far as they could tell, it was still intact.
That's good. And you haven't had any massive headaches or anything so far.
No.
So that's a great sign.
No, I've honestly had like zero issues, no blood pressure issues, nothing like that from sitting up straight, nothing. So I've been very fortunate. I just got to deal with the surgery pain and just recovery, really.
Right. So after that, then you went into surgery, came out of that. Kind of what are the next steps? What kind of unfolded after that first surgery for you guys? And, what were the doctors saying? What was kind of, the next couple of weeks like for you guys?
Man, the next few days, honestly, they're just blurry for me. I'm just sitting in a bed with all these, cords and IVs hooked up to me and just hanging out. I just remember someone would be like, "Hey, Mike, so-and-so's here to see you." And I would wake up, say hi, tell them thank you. And then I would pretty much just fall back asleep, and that was pretty much the first few days for me. And then, they tried to sit me up, like have me sit me up with them assisting me. How many days after surgery was that? 2?
Maybe 1.5, actually.
Yeah, it was like, man, it was really early, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna try and sit you up," and I'm just thinking like, you guys are crazy. What are you doing? And so I'm like, okay, I guess we're doing this, and I'm sitting up, and I just feel like I'm pretty much like a bobblehead from like the shoulders up, and I'm just like sitting here kind of trying to balance and figuring out how to hold my body. It was just a completely new experience because from the time I crashed until that point, that was the first time I sat up.
Okay.
Tried to figure it out myself,
How did that feel? Sitting up? Were you surprised? Were you, what was going through your head that first time?
Yeah, I was just, man, I don't know, it was a weird thing to get used to, and I just remember thinking like, man, I hope I don't fall. Like this is going to hurt, and, yeah, I just probably had like 4 or 5 people sitting around. Yeah. So after when they're sitting me up, and I just remember thinking, this is not a good idea. I don't know. I don't think we should be doing this, you guys.
He was pissed.
Yeah. I was
not happy about it.
Yeah. I was in a lot of pain, and I didn't know, I just didn't know anything. And they're trying to do things that I can't do myself to me, and so, yeah, it was weird and very painful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't think I mentioned they fused his spine from T3 all the way to T9. So
Oh, wow.
The majority
Okay.
of his thoracic spine was fused.
So you are fused and locked in.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, very stiff in my mid back now.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was the only way that they could get the spinal cord all the way straightened
Okay.
to make sure that no further damage.
Right. Keep it safe. Keep it protected.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. But let's see, the next weeks after, after that point, it's just every day is getting a little bit easier to move, but I'm just going to PT and I'm doing a lot of occupational therapy, and they're teaching me pretty much how to move my body, how to get comfortable, and the techniques on how the easiest ways to kind of be mobile again. So we didn't work a whole lot on trying to get feeling back or anything like that. It was pretty much like, hey, we're just now going to try to figure out how we're going to teach you how to move now with what you have. So,
because now all your movement is done with your upper body because you don't have a ton of stomach muscles that you can use now, right? Because of everything fused.
yeah.
And so where's your feeling so everybody can I understand, like where does it start that you have now and
So
don't have?
pretty much from like the nipples down,
Okay.
I have no feeling right there.
Okay.
So anything further down, nothing. I can't feel anything.
Something that was pretty cool too is they had a whole bunch of he was in multiple different units throughout his time. The first one was the ICU trauma, the shock trauma unit actually, and he was supposed to be there for probably 3 to 5 days, and he got out in a day and a half.
That's quick then.
Then the next was just the normal trauma rehab, and he was supposed to be there for about 7 days. He got out of there in 2.5 days. And then we went to neuro rehab, just to kind of get him acclimated back into life and figuring out how to use his body. But everyone at the hospital and was always like, this man is crazy. Like, how insane is he that he's already progressed so dang fast? I mean, obviously he can't feel his legs still, but the progress that he's made because of his will and his mental strength, which is something I don't have. I would have been crying in the corner begging them to take my life because I wouldn't want to live that way. But he's such a strong individual, mentally, emotionally, and especially physically too, that he just cruised through everything they asked him to do.
It's kind of just like everything else you've done in life, right? In the last 15 years really is you decide you're going to do something and I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you did the same thing in the hospital. It sounds like I said, oh, you'll be here 3 to 5 days. You were there a day and a half. Like, let's just go.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm like, I've been here dozens of times before, like with physical therapy and injuries, and waking up in the hospital being like, what the heck's going on? So like this one, I'm like, hey, let's go. Like, what do I need to do so I can get back to what I need to do? You know what I mean? I hate hospitals. That's a funny thing too, is even when Jamie takes Axel to his appointments, like at the hospitals, like I usually don't go because I can't stand sitting in hospitals.
Yeah.
And after this injury, I'm locked in a hospital for 5.5, 6 weeks, I'm like, dang it, but I definitely had to learn patience, in the hospital. But, what were you saying?
We were talking about how fast you cruise through stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, it felt like for me, like every day I was learning something new and things were getting easier, and like once I learn it, then I try to practice it myself, or I try to do certain things and movements myself so I can just figure them out. I don't want to only wait until PT the next day to figure it out again. I'm like, okay, let's just go. I want to get out of here. What can I do? Can we speed this up?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was kind of funny too because whenever he would get a physical therapist or an occupational therapist that would talk too much, he'd be like immediately irritated. Can we please do something? Teach me something.
Can we stop talking and actually get to work?
I don't need your words. I need you to teach me something so that I can get better.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. Like they explain it once and they say, you understand? I'm like, yep, I completely get it. Let's do it. Okay. So another way of explaining it is this. I'm like, oh my goodness, dude. Like, please just let me try it.
Yeah.
Energy in the room shifts quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. I wear my emotions on my sleeve.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I'm irritated, you'll know.
So that brings up the question I want to ask. This has all happened. They get you to set up for the first time. When was the moment that you decided, you know what? I'm not going to let this beat me. I am going to hit this head on. Was there a specific moment when you made that mental decision? Because I've seen things progress. And so I'd like to know, is there one exact moment where you made that decision, or was it over a few times that you had to kind of get to that point for you?
I can think of one instance where I'm like, okay, this is this is the new life, but I mean, honestly, like I've had so many different things in my life like prepare me for this that it wasn't like oh no, you know what I mean? I wasn't like, oh, this is it. Like I'm done, you know? So, like I said, like I've had so many injuries and I've had to go to the hospital and have had surgeries and I've had to, do rehab for months, and it sucks, but I knew what to expect. This was a big injury and when I was laying there on the track, after I talked to her, the ambulance was already called. I'm just laying there on the ground, waiting for the ambulance. And I remember thinking like, wow, we're gonna have to change a few things, but I mean, even at that point, I wasn't like sad. I wasn't, I wasn't mad. I was just thinking like, hey, we're gonna have to figure things out. That was pretty much it.
I had multiple people that were with him at the track that day come to me and say, I've never seen anyone be so calm with an injury like this, or even an injury of any sort on a track. They couldn't believe the peacefulness and the calmness that he had to him. And he did tell me, when I was laying there, that was when I processed it. That was when I realized this was my new life, and I had two choices. You go head first and do your best, or you sit there and wallow in it.
Yeah.
And he's not a wallower.
No, not by any means.
And so I had therapists come up to me so many times and say, why doesn't he want to talk these things through and listen to the extra things we're asking him to do? And I go, because he's already processed this. He doesn't need your help emotionally right now. He needs you physically to show him what he needs to do, because he doesn't need any more acceptance. He's accepted. He processes things on a rate that most people could not even comprehend. I can't comprehend it, because again, I'd be over there bawling my eyes out, wondering why I even have to be alive, but he's got a mental toughness that is, I've never seen it before.
Yeah. Well, and I seen some of those pictures that you posted of you laying there on the ground, and a lot of thoughts went through my mind looking at them, and the way you're explaining them now, everything makes sense. Because I was like, he just looks like he's chilling.
Right?
He really did
Yeah.
in those pictures.
And he was legitimately chilling.
Was.
Yeah. I had my friend Balin. He was like, when I crashed and everybody at the track figured out, oh, someone's down. Like we gotta go back to our trucks. It's gonna be a minute. My buddy Balin showed up, and then somebody, I think the track manager, and said, "Hey, it's Mikey." And so he got on his bike and ran over and rode over to me. He got there, and I remember looking up at him and just saying, "Hey, what's up, bro?" And he was like, "Dude, it was spooky how calm you were at the track when you were just laying there." But like I said, like so many times before, I have been in car accidents or sporting accidents, or crashed on a dirt bike and woken up a couple seconds later on the ground, and like it's happened before. But with all the injuries, it's like, okay, I'm injured. Doctor says 2 to 3 months, and this is what I have to do to get back to normal. Okay, let's do it so I can get back to doing what I like to do.
Yeah.
Because this downtime sucks. So I might, on some days I'm like, I've already done my physical therapy. Like I want to do more, with previous injuries, not this one, but I want to do more to strengthen it, and I'll come out here and I'll be doing, box squats for my knees, or, just lunges, weighted lunges, something for stability, but I just want to get back to doing what I normally do so bad that I'm just going to do what I need to do and get back to it. I have another injury. Cool. Rinse, repeat. I have another injury. Cool. Rinse, repeat. Let's get back to it, And so this time, however many it is now, injuries down the road, I'm like, okay, can we please hurry up? And so I can get back to my house and get back to figuring out how to do the things I like to do again.
Yeah. So I want to ask the question, how you've handled this is bar none just amazing. let me just tell you how inspirational it is, just from my standpoint, everything I've seen so far. What do you think has helped you get to that point of that mental toughness of, you know what, whatever comes at me, I'm just going to tackle it and just go through it? How, what steps or what events in your life have got you to that moment that have made this easier?
Um, Man, I'm a different person. Even as a kid, I was a different person, just people couldn't contain me. I had to be doing things and I had to be figuring things out. And why does this work the way it does? Like tell me, I want to know. And, I was always told like, don't do that, or stop that. For me, I'm like, that's not how this works, so I would figure it out, you know, um, even, even in sports, I played quarterback growing up from the time I was like 9 years old until I graduated high school. And I wasn't the biggest guy. I was probably 5'8", 5'9", like 140 pounds, soaking wet. And I was playing quarterback, here in Salt Lake. There's big people. There's a big pool of people to choose from out here. Um, Man, I would always get just the crap knocked out of me, and my dad would always tell me, like, it doesn't matter how hard you get hit, you get back up, and you, act- you act like, you act like nothing happened, you know, so uh, that definitely helped for sure, um, with mental toughness, because you don't want to show anybody that you have a weak point, that there's a weak spot, or you don't want to let them know, like, hey, you got a good lick on me that time, you know? Now you pop up and you tell them like, you know, is that all you got? Not the hardest you can hit, man.
And I can imagine you saying that to your bike as soon as you're laying there on the ground. It's like, that all you had? Let's do this again, right?
Yeah, well, actually, I wish it had a little bit more, if anything, But yeah, it's like I said, there's just been so many events in my life that have led up to preparing me for this moment,
Yeah.
this experience.
And a lot of us believe that everything happens to us a reason. We're all meant to go through a lot of these things to get to where we're supposed to be. It sounds like everything you've gone through to this point has been preparing you for this.
Yeah.
Because now, I think now is the time for you to shine.
Yeah, there's been a lot in my childhood that has prepared me for sure.
Okay, so I want to add to that part where he was just talking about like preparing him because we had a specific moment when we were just dating. We were long distance because he was in the Air Force. I was living here in Utah. He was in California. And we were FaceTiming one night and we were just chatting. Um and somehow he got on this subject of he's always had this feeling that he was meant to do something more and something for others, but he didn't know what that was. And he was in tears. It's the first time I'd ever seen him cry. And he rarely, for quite a few years, ever did cry. But he just was really overwhelmed with the feeling that he had something that he was meant for, but had zero idea what that was. And after this accident, I brought that to his attention again. And I'm like, this is it, dude. I don't know how and I don't know why, because it feels like a really shitty thing to happen. But if anybody's going to make it positive, it's this guy. He's going to affect people in a way that I can only dream to do for people. And it shows because of the amount of support he's had. It shows how much he's already done for people because we've had people we haven't seen in years, people that he's been beefing with for years, and just jump out of the woodwork to support him because he's such a good dude and he does the same thing for other people on a regular basis. So to me, that honestly brought me a little bit of comfort because he'd already felt that something like was coming in his life. And it was kind of like, all right, cool. I got you. This is where we're going now. and this is what we're going to do. We're going to do it as a team, as a family with our son, and we're going to do whatever we can to make this a positive experience for everyone that may have ever gone through this, or even, you know, hopefully no one has to, but at the same time, like, just be an inspiration to them.
Yeah. Well, early on, I don't know if you remember, Mike, I made the joke to you that eventually we're going to see you on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. You're going to be rolling out. He's going to be introducing you as Mayhem Mike in the wheelchair.
Right.
And you're going to be rolling out, man, and just telling your story. In a way, I think you've already done that. You have inspired so many people. I mean, there's been people that I don't even know that I have heard talk about your story. Hey, did you hear about this guy? Oh yeah, it's crazy how it's spread like wildfire.
Mm-hmm.
But the universal message from every single person I've heard from is, I don't know how that guy's so positive. Like, that's what they're all saying is, I don't know how he's so positive, or can you believe how positive he is with everything he's going through? And you've already, I mean, set the precedent for so many people that shit happens to you in life. You can either accept it, move on with it, and make it your new 100%.
Yeah.
Or, you know what, you can sit there and wallow and be miserable.
Oh yeah. And I've done that too, you know. Yeah, I did that a couple years ago. You know, I was not in a good spot. Right before I found the I Love You Bro project, you know.
Yeah.
Luckily, I'm sorry. Luckily, you know, I mean, I recommend everybody get a mentor, somebody who they know really cares about them, and just confide to them, let them know your issues, you know, because those are the type of people that are going to help you, you know, till the day's end. And,
Yeah.
you know, I had a friend like that for me where, you know, I was wallowing real bad, and, you know, he had told me like, hey man, I know that everything you're going through, like, you know, it's okay. It's okay to go through that. It's okay to feel like that. But now he helped me figure out, you know, how to change my mindset.
Yeah.
You know, how to take little steps to get, you know, where I want to be mentally. You know, I owe a lot to that guy.
Yeah.
You know?
We kind of talked about that last time you were on a little bit. It was kind of him and Jamie that really pushed you to say, you know what? Get over yourself. Let's do this.
Exactly.
You know what?
Yeah.
And
I'm not sure how I did that, but I know his friend did. He was so good with him.
No, Jamie's always the one like, hey, dude, like, you're so much stronger than this. Like, you got this. Like,
Yeah.
she's always telling me, like, you got this. That's what she always says. You got this.
Well, and it's amazing to see you guys interact. I mean, because I haven't spent a lot of time with Jamie, and to see how much support she has for you, but how much she loves you and how much she cares for you. And at the same time, she's going to let you experience the things you need to go through at your own speed. She's not going to push you faster than you need to go. And she's also not going to let you go slower than you need to go.
Yeah,
She's going to keep you on track.
Oh yeah, she's definitely like that. And if I start skipping a beat, she'll let me know.
Yeah.
Hey, you missed this, dude. You forgot this, you know. Yeah, she's not afraid to let me know.
I do it with love.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. She does.
I just think that, like, he had a lot of things in life that made him feel like he couldn't express his feelings or his emotions. And it wasn't until close to when he started the I Love You Bro, started coming to I Love You Bro project, and a little bit prior, where he started recognizing that he'd never allowed himself to feel. He was never willing to show emotion unless it was negative emotions. He wouldn't communicate. He didn't know how to communicate those emotions because he felt like he couldn't. Like he wasn't allowed to. He wasn't it just wasn't something that was prevalent in his life. And it was probably the opposite in my life. It was like too much, you know, so it's almost like you're being coddled a little bit with too many emotions, but we've been able to find a balance for our son. But for Mike, it was like he just had to step back and go, holy hell, it's okay for me to cry and to admit that I'm having a hard time right now. But it took a long time for him to get there.
a really long time.
Yeah.
And he still reverts back to it sometimes, just like sometimes I revert back to being a big fat softie and a ball baby. It's just we all have our times, right? But with him, I think he's just become so much more emotionally mature just in the last 2 years, and I feel like that's also prepared him for this because he's not afraid to cry and
Right.
show the true feelings that are going on. Anybody can walk up and be like, "Yeah, I'm good. No big deal." But are you really good? No, you're not. You're lying. So speak it because somebody needs to hear that you're not okay right now. Because how else are you going to protect someone from taking their own life? How else are you going to protect someone from feeling in the deep, dark depths of despair if you don't and aren't able to communicate your feelings and reach out when needed?
Yeah, for sure.
And that's one of the things I love about I Love You Bro Project is that he's become so much more sensitive to other people's feelings and recognizing that all feelings are okay. Good,
Right.
bad, ugly, whatever they are, they're okay. And it's even better if you express them.
Yeah. Well, I think you exhume this. One thing that both of us have learned over the last couple of years, and especially because of the project, is strength comes from being an emotional person.
Yeah, for
You know, there's strength in showing when you're sad and when you're struggling. There's strength showing when you're doing well. All different levels. But that's where the true growth comes. That's where the true, real your true self. And I think Emily's probably talked to you about that.
Yeah.
As your true self shows and really comes out when you're that vulnerable and showing those true emotions and you're okay with it and you're willing to let other people sit in that space with you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's important too to let other people sit in that space with you.
I
Yeah.
feel like there's so much comfort in that. You're not alone.
No.
It's crazy how many people deal with depression and anxiety and suicidal tendencies or thoughts, and people just
Right.
how dare we talk about
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, in all reality, we could be sitting here having a very different conversation today.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for everything that you have trained yourself, everything you've been through up to this point, our conversation could be completely different.
Yeah.
And I'm glad it's not at that point, because now you're able to show we're sharing this message with, I know there's a couple guys, multiple people listening to this right now that are struggling.
Yeah.
Or have something going on in their life. And in their life, it might be something major, it might be something minimal, and they're having a problem talking about or sharing, and they can now kind of rationalize with you of what you're going through and see that it's okay.
Yeah. It's okay to go through hard things.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
It's okay to get beat up.
Yep.
Okay to get knocked down.
And mental health the struggle is real. I mean, I remember quite a few years ago, I was going through something so deep, and Mike had not really experienced a whole lot of anxiety yet in his life. And he was just, you just got to retrain your brain. You just got to think differently. You'll be fine. It's fine. And I'm like, whoa, bro, like I can barely like function right now, Like I'm not sure I really want to be alive right now because I'm having such a hard time in my head and the anxiety won't go away. And I think it was about a year later after that Mike started experiencing it. And he's like, holy cow, like this is real.
I
You can't just
understand.
turn it off. Yeah, you can't just turn it off when you want to and just think a different thought.
Yeah.
Go do something different and you'll forget about it. No, it doesn't. It's literally a chemical situation that can't be fixed. And I think also with that was an eye opener for him too, to recognize that if I really don't explore those feelings that I'm having, those anxious feelings, then they aren't going to go away. You almost have to sit in it for a minute and recognize it and then get help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, and it's seeking out help where you're comfortable.
Yes.
There's all sorts of avenues for help.
Yeah.
We talk about it all the time. There's not one avenue that's the best for everybody.
Mm-mm.
Everybody, I mean, some is having that friend, that mentor. Some is having your spouse. Some is having a therapist. Some is having a group setting like I Love You Bro. Some's having, a life coach. So many options you have. You just have to find out what sits the best for you, what fits your needs, what fits your situation. Because if you don't find what fits you and what's going to help you, you're going to resent trying to do whatever it is because you're not comfortable in it.
Exactly.
And you're not going to do the growth that you need, and you're not going to make it through to the other side the way you were supposed to.
Yeah.
If you don't accept that, hey, I need to continue trying to grow and finding the way that is best for me.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't try one or two things and then just stop and say, okay, nothing's there. Nothing's out there to help me. It's like, no, there's plenty of things out there to help everybody with every situation, especially in this day and age. You know,
Right.
Oh yeah.
we've
Right.
been we've been a pretty civilized society for a while now. Like there's plenty of avenues for help, especially, you know, now with what Joe's done with men's mental health. You know, like now there's plenty of avenues for men's mental health around here
Right.
locally, you know.
Just tons of different resources that are available to all of us, you know, as far as that. And it doesn't matter what stage of life you're in. It doesn't matter where you're at as far as finances. There's always an option for you, always.
Yes.
And it's a matter of speaking up and asking for the help.
Yeah.
And there's somebody out there that's going to help you find that help that you need,
Mhm.
and they'll guide you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. Just don't stop looking for that person, you know.
Right.
There's somebody out there that cares about you and that wants you to get help, and
Yeah.
just gotta find out who that is.
So you've been home for about a week now.
Yep, a week tomorrow.
Okay. Do you mind sharing how's that first week been? Because in the hospital, it's different.
Yeah.
You've got doctors around you. You've got people that are helping you at all stages of the day, everything going on.
Yep.
You come home, and this is where your normal routine is. This is where life happens.
Yeah.
How has that transition been for you? And what things have really been that stand out that have been the hardest?
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, I've answered that question a bunch lately, and the one thing I tell people is it's been frustrating. You know, it's been very frustrating from little things to big things, you know, just trying to figure out the new routine. You know, I've got to wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom every night, you know, and so that's been tough because I love my sleep. You know, I hate being interrupted with my sleep. But yeah, it's been very frustrating, you know, and not everywhere is completely accessible just yet, you know, like for example, I spend a lot of time in my backyard, you know, and I can't go back there right now, you know. Um Here in the garage, you know, there's a lot of construction supplies here for the first 4 or 5 days, and then it excuse me, it didn't allow me to use my workout equipment, you know, and so I had my little sister come in here and try to shimmy a small path for me just so I could get over here and start stretching and using bands and whatnot. But you know, it's frustrating. I mean, my little boy, he likes to just take off his shoes and throw them wherever. Now those are like little speed bumps that I can't get over.
Yeah.
You know, and so stuff like that's been frustrating. But yeah, I've definitely had to learn patience, and it's tough because I know that I require a lot of extra help, and I don't want to. I hate asking for help, and so when I see my wife, you know, busy doing something, like I don't want to ask her for shit because she's already been helping me out all day, you know. So I'll just sit there and just pretty much just hang out, you know. So that's been kind of tough for me, but uh, yeah, I mean, every day is getting better for sure. It's getting a little bit easier. Jamie's, you know, helping me out, and like things are just becoming a little bit more seamless each day.
Yeah.
You know, so it's frustrating but turning into an easier routine each day.
Yeah.
And we're finding it.
Well, we were talking about with Jamie's business right now, summertime's the slowest.
Yeah.
It almost is like this is a blessing in disguise because it's allowing her to be here more to get you acquainted, to get you settled with this new life.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good way of looking at it, actually. I didn't even think about that. But yeah, I guess, you know, that would require a little bit less attention from her there, and she could put it here, you know. Because even changes with me. She's helping me. My sons and I are 10 years old now, and he doesn't want to listen, so he requires extra help as well. So,
Right.
you know, it's nice to have her here.
Yeah.
You know, for sure.
Yeah.
A lot more. Yeah.
Well, we talked when I showed up. It's interesting. You have two pit bulls.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting to see how the dynamic with them has changed.
Yep.
Because when you first came home, they wanted to bring you toys. They up on your lap. They want to play.
Yeah.
And they've adapted really quickly to your new lifestyle and kind of they know what you need now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, one of them, the one that Chica, the one that likes to play all the time, she just comes and lays by me wherever I go, whether it's upstairs, down here, in the garage. I mean, you saw her; she was laying right next to me in the garage, and yeah, she's adapted crazy well
Yeah.
with it. Luna always just likes to go sit on the couch and sleep, so nothing's changed with her. But um, I ran over her paw once, and so now she's very weary when I come around with the chair.
Yeah, little skittish of the wheelchair now.
Oh yeah, I tried to squeeze in between her and a chair, and it didn't work out.
Yeah.
No, she got the worst end of it. But yeah, so the dogs have been surprisingly more calm. You know, now that we've had a ton of construction workers come in and out of the house, like they don't even get up to go say hi sometimes. They just
Yeah.
look, say, okay, cool, you know, and go back to sleep. It's pretty crazy to see how they've changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you just touched on that. Let's talk. And Mike, this is your time. There has been a lot of people that have jumped in and donated so much to you guys over the last few weeks. Do you want to kind of just let everybody know what has happened around here? And it's just overwhelming for me to think of, and then walking to your house and seeing what they've done. I mean, this is the time we can shout out and, you know, kind of let everybody know thank you and kind of tell everybody what the community's really done for you over the last few weeks.
Man, the community is like, I could have asked for a better group of people to be around me during this time. You know, I mean, people who I may have even coached their kids once at a free clinic are taking everything like shirt off their back type deal and seeing what they could do to help me. You know, and uh, companies have reached out and said, "Hey, we're gonna donate this to you. You know, we heard your story. And we're gonna donate this for you." And you know, my whole house remodel, I've had doors widened, 2 bathrooms remodeled, an elevator put in, and 90% of that stuff was donated. You know, labor donated, materials donated. I have 2 really close friends of mine, Zach Gordon and Sean Holbrook. And Sean, I didn't even ask him. He was like, "Hey, I'm going to get some people out there to your house, and we're going to start on the construction of the remodel, so that way, you know, when Mike's ready to go home, he could live here. You know, and he doesn't have to wait." And then my buddy Zach Gordon, he reached out and was like, "Hey man, if there's anything I could do to help, let me know." And so I said, "Hey, you know, I might need your expertise." He's a home builder. I said, "I might need your expertise with my new remodel." And he was like, "Cool, let's do it." And he's gotten so many things donated as well. You know, his brother Brandon has been over here, you know, for weeks, getting the house ready, tearing it down, building it back up. It's just been incredible to see the amount of people that want to help at the pretty much at the drop of a hat. You know, who else?
We had we actually had a family that we've kind of worked with in the moto community before a little bit. We had never met the wife, but the husband did. Always does the speakers and the music for this series that we do that the Edge puts on called the Mini Moto. It's a really cool series that my son races in and that Mike volunteers with. And they reached out. The wife had an accident 2 years ago, a bicycle accident, and became a quadriplegic. They received a ton of support. They started this race. The Edge started a race called the Good Vibes Race, and they did an entire race to support their family. Well, when Mike had his accident, they reached out immediately. They showed up at the hospital. That sweet woman Heidi, that was a quadriplegic, walked into the hospital room. She's a walking quadriplegic, and her husband came in and they looked at us and they said, "Okay, what can we do for you? Where do we go? What do we do?" So immediately he set up a benefit concert barbecue for Mike. He got with Brian Green, who owns the Edge. He is just a phenomenal human being. And they said, "Okay, this year's Good Vibes race is going to Mike Ramirez." We're going to take care of his therapy. They sent us to a program called NeuroWorks that's in Sandy, and this program is what helped Heidi walk again. She now works there actually for them, and she immediately got him on the top of the list for this program, which is a highly sought after national program. Like, it's phenomenal, and that's where he's going now.
Yeah.
Just this, we had our friend started an online auction for us. Another good set of friends did a whole GoFundMe for us.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just insane the amount of people that have said, hey, we're here. We're going to do this. I don't want you worrying about anything. You get better. You take care of him. Let's go. We got you.
They've spent so much time out of their days helping us, and it's incredible that people would want to do that for others. I'm so grateful for that.
Well, this comes back around. It shows people are people. Like, we're not all gone. We're not all bad in humanity. We want to say that sometimes, but it also speaks to your character, both of you, and what you guys have done for other people through all of your service and everything that you guys have done. You've made a big difference in other people's lives, and they want to pay it forward. And it's overwhelming to see the love and just the outpouring that has happened here, and the strength still coming from you.
Yeah, overwhelming's a good word.
Yeah. Super overwhelming. I've had friends come visit me like every day for a week, just come hang out.
Yeah.
I've had my little sister, Ashley, who's stayed with me like probably out of the 5.5 weeks, she probably stayed there 4.5 weeks with me. And she's got her own life, but in the evenings after work, she's like, hey, I'm going to stay with Mike. So he has someone to be with him at night in the hospital.
It was hard for me to be able to be there every night because of our son.
Right.
The first week I stayed, and then I realized my son was suffering, and it's like, how do you split your time between your husband that needs you and your 10-year-old son that needs you? And our son struggles with, he has pretty severe ADHD, and he suffers from anxiety as well. And I just started seeing it negatively impact him. And so it was like a blessing that his sister stepped up and was like, let me be there. Let me do that so that you can come and be, we still came and saw Mike twice a day, and we were there with him, during things. But I think that was the hardest part, especially for me, was knowing which one to give my time to, who needed it the very most at that moment, because I knew that I had to pick one or the other, and that's a stucky place to be.
Well, that's a position you don't ever want to be in.
No.
You don't want to have to choose.
No.
And it's awesome that you've had so many people step up, so you knew Mike was taken care of.
Yes, it was so much more of a comfort to me. And honestly, I think she brought such a good vibe to the situation, because she can joke with him. It's his little sister, right? They can tease and joke, and it's a lot more heavy when I'm sitting there, because I'm sitting there like,
how are we going to do this and this and this?
And I'm crying, and he's looking at me like, why are you crying? Like, because I'm upset. I'm sorry. I'm trying to hide it. And goes, no, all we have to do is make a few changes. No need to cry. I'm like, who are you? Like, are you crazy? This is more than a few changes. But that's his mindset, and thank goodness for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Allowed me to get back home in a month and a half.
Right. That's really unheard of in somebody in your situation. And I know a big part of it was with everybody jumping in, everybody helping to get the house ready, because the hospital wasn't going to let you go home until the house was ready.
Right.
Yeah. They were very worried about letting me go home and not having access to my upstairs, where my full bathrooms and all my bedrooms are. And so I wanted to make sure. Well, I mean, I was hoping that the house would be ready by the time they're like, "Okay, we're done with you. Go home, do your thing." And it wasn't completely, but at least I could get upstairs. The elevator got installed really quick, and I was able to like I said, go upstairs and sleep in my own bed, which was nice. So.
Yeah. And really, the amount of work that they had to do, it's pretty impressive that they got it done so fast, because generally that amount of work would have taken quite a bit longer. But these people donating their time and their energy and their product was the only thing that made it work.
Yeah.
Should have taken a couple months, and it got done in 3 weeks.
Yeah. 3-4 weeks. You were, yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
Incredible, man.
well, what's next for Mike? I mean, you're home, you're still recovering. You've got that path you're going to do, but what's next for you? I mean, what?
I think, I want to get back to some normalcy. Dirt bikes are a huge part of my life, in our family's life. And so with the training courses that we have for kids, I want to get back out there, go support them, go coach them, and see what I can do to still help out, with when it comes to coaching them. We started a program this year at Jordan River State Park where we train beginners on dirt bikes and maybe kids who know how to handle a dirt bike but just need to learn the form. Those are the kids that we train, and I want to be able to go back out there and see those guys again. See those families, because those are the ones that really care about making sure their kids are safe in the sport. And so I want to do everything I can to help those guys. I really want to get back to camping. I want to go out, sit out in the woods.
Yeah.
Go sit on the top of the mountain so I can realize that all my small problems aren't that big of a deal. And so really those two things are like top of my list right now.
Right.
Getting on a dirt bike's definitely one of them. I've got to heal my back up before I really hit that one hard, but
you got to wait a little bit of time for
that. Yeah. I keep wanting to go like mountain biking and do all this stuff, and people are like, dude, you got to heal first, like relax, and I'm just like, let's go. Can someone get me on my bike so I could go take it around the neighborhood,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, and I didn't know how much you like camping, so I'm going to throw it out there. And I think I've told you a little bit that I'm putting on my very first men's retreat this fall.
Perfect.
Mike, you're coming with us.
All right, let's do it.
So it's at the end of August. We're going to take you out there. We've got a whole weekend planned. Everything is planned where you'll be able to participate in the capacity you're in right now.
Cool.
So we'll make sure to talk about that. And if that's your first camping trip out since then, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
I hope it's not. I hope you get out before then, but we're going to shoot for that for sure. We're going to get you out there, and that's going to be a great experience. And we'll have you there with a whole bunch of our guys and enjoy that weekend.
That'll be amazing, dude. Thank you.
Yeah. So
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. That is going to be fun. So, well, before we go, I'm going to ask both of you. I'm going to ask Jamie first.
What's up?
What is a couple things that really stand out? We've talked about a lot here. We've talked about so many things you guys have gone through and the struggles and how you've overcome a lot. But for anybody listening, going through anything that you've learned through this experience, what do you really want to emphasize or share, either again or something you haven't, that somebody needs to hear out there today?
I think it's okay to fail. I think just in the last month and a half, almost 2 months since the accident, I have felt like I've failed constantly. And then I have people go, how do you do it all? You're doing everything and you're still smiling and you're still talking to people and you're still trying to. I disagree, but I do think that I have to give myself some grace. And I think that people need to give themselves some grace. Even just the other day, I was having a full-on meltdown and I finally let Mike see it because I didn't want him to feel guilty, like that this was his fault that I'm having a meltdown. It was just, I needed him in that moment in the capacity that he used to be in for me. Instead of me trying to be his support, I needed him to be my support for a minute. And I decided that it was okay to be vulnerable enough to let that happen for once. But I just have not given myself enough grace because I feel like, trying to put your son or your husband and having to put one of them first at all times is pretty shitty. That's not how we've ever done it because we are such a tight unit. Just, my husband, myself, and our son, like that's us. And we've always done things together. We've always worked through things together. But I feel like I've had to become the pillar of that. And
I've forgotten that I'm here too still. And instead of being kind to myself, I think I've been pretty hard on myself. So I think that as a message to everyone, like, give yourself some grace. You can't be perfect. It's not going to be perfect ever. All you can do is your very, very best. And whatever life throws at you, you just have to do your best. It may not be what you want it to be or as good as you think your standard should be, because I'm a pretty big perfectionist, but give yourself grace.
I really like that. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Come here, buddy. Step over the court real quick.
Come here. You can come sit with me.
All right, Mike, your turn. What do you really want to share with people that we haven't, or what do you want to emphasize that we've talked about today?
I think one of the most important things to emphasize for me is I wish everybody could hear me and just understand when I say, like, don't be afraid to go ask for help. Don't be afraid to let those people that you ask for help you, because I've said this before, like we're not meant to handle every situation, good or bad, by ourselves.
Right.
We need help. There's not ever been a solo man create a civilization by himself. Like it requires help. Everything requires help. So let people help you, in the capacity that they can help. Yeah. I mean, as strong as we are, we still require help.
You can't do it alone.
Nope. Yeah, you can't do it alone. So yeah, let others help you. Don't be afraid to ask for help. I know it's tough too, especially for guys. We want to figure out how to do it ourselves, and we want to hold to the emotions, but don't be afraid to let those things out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let others help you.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, we've got a special guest that joined us for the last few minutes of the show. You want to say anything about your dad while you're here, little man? Anything that how he makes you feel, or if you're proud of him, anything you want to say to everybody listening about your dad?
I am proud of him because, he's gone through all this and he's still not giving up. Like, the entire time at the hospital and the entire time at home, like, he just hasn't given up.
Yeah. Yeah. What's the thing that stands out the most? What are you the most proud of with your dad right now?
How he's not complaining about it, but he's just letting it be.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty awesome. He's a pretty amazing guy. I think you know that, but he really is special, and you're lucky to have him as a dad, and he's going to be around for a long time, so you better get used to it. Oh, well, everybody, I just want to say, Mike and Jamie, thank you for having me over to your house. Thank you for sharing your story and this message. I really hope that we can get it out to, people that need to hear it.
Yeah.
But you guys are still in the middle of it. You're still in the thick of this changing and this therapy and lots going on. You still have a lot of needs going on.
Oh, yeah.
How can people reach out that are able to and that want to help? I can have them reach out to me. Do you guys have ways that you would prefer them to reach out? Because I know there's people listening that want to help.
Yeah, yeah, you're more than welcome to reach out to me directly, whether it's by phone or, messages on social media or anything like that. I'm totally into help. I know I need a lot of help, and I'm ready to let others help me. So yeah, if you want to reach out to me directly or Jamie directly, like you're more than welcome to. One of our close friends, Kelly Rosberg, she set up a GoFundMe account for me to help cover all the medical expenses, which there's been so many already. And then the future outpatient therapy and NeuroWorks that I'm going through, because insurance only covers so much of that. And so we've got a GoFundMe set up. And then if it's construction based too, I've got a buddy, Zach and Sean, that I can get you in touch with too, to if there's anything construction wise you want to help. I've had a bunch of people come up to me already and offer, their company said, hey, we'll put in a new air conditioning and heating system into their house when they're ready. So just let us know, So stuff like that, like, man, I couldn't be more grateful for people willing to help us out like that, because that's not something that I can easily maintain myself anymore, it's definitely going to take some work. And this next year, I'm not going to be able to really do much of that.
Right.
I've got to recover first. But yeah, so if there's any help that you want to give out, please feel free to reach out to Jamie or me. Yeah, we'll gladly take the call or message.
What is your social media?
Yeah, my social
information?
media is Mike's Mayhem on all platforms. And Jamie's is JamRamp13, right?
Yeah.
Yep, JamRamp13. But yeah, hit us up on social media. We're always on there. We're willing to talk to people
Yeah.
too, to help them out. Yeah.
And I will post both Zach and Sean's, right?
Yep.
I'll post both of their information in the podcast description as well. I'll get that from you, so that if people do want to reach out for any of the construction needs or anything, those will be the go-to guys to reach out to for that. And
For sure.
again, everybody, I really hope that Mike's story resonated with you. I am just extremely grateful you're still here with us. I am super inspired by everything that you're doing personally and how you're already helping people with, your story and your positivity just out in the community. And I just want to say how grateful I am to have you as a friend, and how grateful I am to be here with you today and, talk about this. So thank you for inviting me over and, being willing to share this with everybody today.
No, thank you so much, dude, for being willing to have me on your show. Because, yeah, I mean, you're really getting the word out about, helping people out, with big and small problems. So thank you. I'm super grateful for you as well, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys. And remember, everybody, the only way we can keep doing this is by you guys sharing, commenting, spreading the word about the podcast, spreading the word about the mental health training and everything that we do here through Surviving Life's Pickles. Again, follow us on social media. Check out the website for any more information. We'll post all the information in the podcast description about Mike and Jamie and how you guys can help out. And thank you so much for tuning in today. Again, we couldn't do it without you guys. We love every single one of you. Thank you.
Thanks, bro.